Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock. We might as well get this thing rolling. I guess this is just an informational meeting, so there's handouts up on the table that kind of describe just about everything we're looking at right now. The process, I'll just do my little spiel, introduce a few folks that might be able to answer some questions, and then I think Mike Huzar wants to say a few words, and then if you have statements you want to make or questions you want to ask, we'll do that at the end. I'm here tonight to present the Barton Improvement District option because I think it's only fair that you know that the only reason downtown looks like it does is because of the downtown bid. The city does not do the work downtown that makes it such an attractive place to be in business and visit a business. It is all courtesy of the downtown bid. If you see city workers working downtown, it is because the downtown bid is paying them to do so. The lights that illuminate the cityscape, the garbage cans, the bike racks, the flower beds, the flower baskets, the regularly kept parking lines, the new dogway stations, input on the design of the new Main Street, all courtesy of downtown bid. I know I'm not going to convince all of you that this is a good idea, but I'm telling you that this will be the most satisfying assessment you will ever pay. I own a business in Barton. I live in Barton. I serve Barton as alderman for District 7. I serve Barton as the chair for the HBBA. I am one of the very few that puts up the Barton Christmas decorations every year, and while I will take responsibility, along with my friends in the HBBA, for a lot of the work being done in the area for a number of years now. The hard truth is our active numbers are dwindling, but our paying members are increasing. This tells me that businesses of Barton want to be involved and contribute to the historic Barton Business District, but don't have the time. Dissolving the HBBA and forming a Barton bid and the board that comes with it will guarantee this kind of economic development will continue indefinitely with even better projects and programs due to an improved budget. I take pride in representing Barton because other than downtown, we are the only part of the city that cares enough to have its own business association and takes real action to improve the lives of the residents and the business environment for the local businesses. It seems like the logical next step, if we truly want to control our own destiny, is to establish ourselves within this West Bend city government so we get representation and a seat at the table. This bid money remains ours. It's just an agreement that we all want to participate in our future together as a group of business owners that want to improve our businesses and our community. As far as I see it, this is a gut check moment. You can take the easy route and call me crazy and do your best to shut this whole thing down, or you can do the more difficult job of helping move Barton into a new, more organized, intentional direction and defy the way it's always been. So with us tonight, we have a collection of bid supporters: Andy Klefstadt, Glass Block of West Bend; Deb and Jeff Slace, Wisconsin House Woodworks; and Dan Verana of Verana Auto Body. That's right, I did see Dan. We also have the current president of the downtown bid and commercial building owner, Mike Huzar of Huzar's Jewelers, who has a real grip on the potential of a bid, as well as the city of West Bend's economic development manager, Jess Wilds, who can answer any administrative questions, and our city planner, Mark Petrovich, who can answer any process questions. And last but not least, our city attorney, Ian Proust, who can answer any legal questions. Mike, did you want to say a few words?
Sure.
Thank you.
I never not want to talk.
I know that.
If I didn't say that, Mark would have. First off, thanks for having me come and I was talking to Justice earlier today, and I talked to a couple, actually one individual within Barton who couldn't be here today that had questions about the bid and the process and everything else. And I told Justice a little bit of history. The downtown bid, I think, is about 20 years old. My family was very instrumental in getting the original bid started. My sister was on the original board. And to be honest, in 2008, 2009, I was really frustrated with the bid. I was leading a charge to get rid of the bid because I felt that what was happening with, at that time, the current bid board, it was a rubber stamp. They were meeting twice a year for 5 minutes, and they were handing the money over to an organization. And we spent in excess of $1.4 million, and nothing happened downtown. I made a deal with my sister that she resigned from the bid and I get involved in the bid, and it was when there was a new administration that came in to the city, and we were able to get the bid on the right track. We got a really good, solid board that has vision, and it's done a number of things since we kind of changed this track. Number one, and I think the most important, is from a city perspective, we would have never gotten anything done downtown that we have right now if we didn't have the bid. And I say that because we're able to now go to the city and say, hey, we need this or we need that. And instead of saying, we need this and we need money, we can come to the table and say, we want to do this and we have this much money, or if you guys kick in this, we can kick in this and we can get stuff done. And through that, some of the, like Justice talked about with the decorations, a perfect example is the Christmas decorations, which we've spent in excess of $150,000 on. But I was able to get people within the community to donate $100,000 of that because the bid came forward and said, we will give $25,000 the first year and we will take care of putting them up and taking them down and finance it. We just need people to help us buy them. So it gives a lot of credibility, and it gives you a lot of ability to do things that you never could do as a organization like you are right now. I think the biggest misnomer of this is how does the bid function? What happens with the bid? The bid is a government entity, so there's some regulation and things that you have to do to make sure that you're legal, and if you don't, Ian's going to tell you. But the other side of it is it's you create your own destiny. The mayor appoints the board, but he takes input as to who should be on that board, and once that board is established, the board sets the assessment. The board decides how the money's going to be spent. The board does everything in relation to that. It's not the city telling the bid what to do with the money. It's the bid telling the city, here's what we want to do with the money. And then on top of that, you end up with, my understanding is the city's going to give, like they do the downtown bid, they're going to give staff, from an executive director standpoint, give that ability to have somebody at City Hall work on your behalf to do things. And in one area that totally stands out in my mind of that we would have never done and it never would have happened if we didn't have city staff helping us, and that was during COVID, we decided to spend $17,000 on a marketing campaign to let people know that downtown was viable and the businesses were here, and we did this whole video thing that the city staff put together. But on top of that, Jess was able to find out, which none of us would have known, that there was a grant available, and we got $12,000 in grant money to cover $17,000. So we really only spent $5,000. Nobody in the downtown, from a business standpoint, during COVID, would have had an opportunity to do any of that work. So there's a lot of benefits that come with the bid that until you have it going and until you see it and really function within it, you don't totally understand and see it. And I guess that's why when I heard they were doing this, and I've been encouraging Justice for a couple years to do this, that's why I wanted to be here tonight to give you my perspective from the downtown standpoint, not only as a bid board member, but also as a building owner and a business owner within the downtown bid. And today, there's absolutely no way I would be leading a charge to get rid of it. I want to make it bigger. I'm upset that we can't expand it into some other areas downtown to get the bid bigger because we could do more things. So if you get the right board and you do the right things, it's nothing but a win-win for everybody, and it's going to improve your property values. It's going to improve everything that goes on there. And hopefully, real honestly, now that we got the brewery project, I'm hoping that we can ultimately merge and everything becomes one huge shopping district and not just the downtown, to be quite frank. I'd love to see viability everywhere because it's going to help all of us. The more business we can get in the community, the better it is for everybody.
And just to explain, just if I can interrupt for a minute,
Yep.
what the way you started out was a little scary because you're talking about you not wanting to dissolve the bid initially. It's basically because they kept, and I don't want to get into there's a lot of politics behind this, but they kept the downtown association and the bid going alive, and that's not really a problem anymore, but for a minute that became kind of a political issue. So
It was
we wouldn't continue to have the HBBA, that would dissolve, and we would just have the bid. So those politics wouldn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Because the original reason for the bid downtown was created to allow us to get into the Main Street program, which was a state program for marketing and things. And so the Downtown Association kind of assumed that they automatically got all the money from the bid. And then the bid decided that we didn't want to do that anymore. We wanted to do capital improvements and do what we've been doing downtown. And that was cut, and it was a really hard cut, to be honest.
But that Main Street program was that's a whole nother.
Main Street's gone, and so we're not even part of it anymore in the community. But you guys wouldn't have that because you would merge right away into the bid and take your association into the bid. And I think it's a total win-win.
Yeah.
The other thing that was asked to me today was, who sets the assessment? How does it work? You as the board and the members set the assessment. So if you want to assess $3 1,000 or 25 cents 1,000, you set whatever you want. The council approves it because they have to, because you're a taxing authority, but the council they have never, all the time that I've been doing this, have never said, well, I don't think you should be doing that.
It's just a matter of process.
It's a process that goes through, and you as the organization establish your assessment and how you want the money spent and how you want to collect it. They just help you collect it.
Just a note that the downtown currently assesses at $3 per 1,000, and some of the handouts that you can grab over here shows what all the properties within the proposed district are and what you would pay at $2 per 1,000 or $3 per $1,000. So you can take a look and see what the differences are. But essentially, we have it on the back of this handout. You can see the total amounts that would make up the bid budget. So ranging anywhere from 34,000 to 51, approximately.
And I encourage you to go, if you guys got questions, go up to the mic and ask them, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, please, unless anybody else has anything. I know, Ian, you've got limited time, but we don't have to get into anything if there's nothing specific anyone wants to know. This is just the beginning of the process. There's a lot more that has to happen for any of this to happen. So if you want to share any thoughts or ask any questions, please come on up and do so. That's what this is for.
I don't need to go to the mic though. One question I got.
We actually need you to.
It's on record. So if you,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry,
recording
Dan.
it, so yeah, we need to have you up there.
I know it's been a long day, brother. I get it.
Dan from Veranda Body Shop in West Bend. It's been a family business since '56, and I like the Barton Business Association, but I like this bid district option. But I'm not 100% either way yet. I would like more information and more support from other local businesses in that. The question I got for you, Mr. Husar, on the negative side, what is your first negative complaints about the bid district that you had to fight through?
At this point, I don't see a negative. I see.
What about your first points starting into this?
In the beginning, it was because the way it was being structured, they were having 2 5-minute meetings a year, maybe 10. And the money was just being handed over to the Downtown Association, and there was nothing being done to improve the district itself. It was financing events.
Okay.
And we had no control over what was going on.
Okay. The second question I got is, you guys said the mayor appoints the board?
Correct.
At any point, does that get a voted-in position, or is that always just appointed by the mayor?
So the mayor, and I don't know if this is true on all of the bids or if it's just ours.
No, it is. It's,
So
so by statute,
let-
the mayor, the chief executive officer, so the mayor of the municipality appoints to the board. Now, I mean, practically speaking, I don't think there's ever been any power plays or anything like that as far as like, well, I'm going to appoint the people I want. I mean, typically it's a, nomination from the businesses to who is going to serve. So,
And how many man board are you looking at, Justice, for that?
Minimum of, go ahead.
minimum of 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least 5.
The downtown bid has
We have 9 with an alderman.
9 plus aldermen or 9 including?
9
aldermen?
including the alderman.
Okay.
We used to have 13 and we cut it back to 9 because we were just having too many problems. And we settled in at 9 because the majority of the other city committees, like planning commission and everything, they all have 9. So we just kind of stayed. There were 7 to 9 people, so we stayed within that. But you could do 5.
Justice, for your question, on the Barton business side, do you think we'd have 9 members available to make meetings like such? I know I'm interested, but I'm sporadic. As you can see, I can make some meetings.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm too busy. I can't drop the ball. I live 45 minutes away. So for me, at 5
that's not
o'clock
any-
to go home, I want to be on the road by 5:30.
I understand, and that's not any different for the downtown bid. You've got members that don't show up periodically. But to answer your question, I feel like I'm getting a different feeling about this bid than it is with the HBBA. The bid, if you're nominated to a position by the mayor, it feels different than if you're just walking in because you kind of want to help the community. I mean, they're actually two very similar things, but just the way the process works, it just feels different. I just had a call from a guy right before coming here that couldn't be here tonight. His name's Jay Munzinger. He's owner of the property 1741 and very interested in what we're doing and very, very supportive and wants to know how he can help. So that would be an example of somebody that might come in that do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
I
right?
recognize the name, but
I have
I don't
no idea
know.
who that is. And I suspect if we asked him to be on the board, he would, just from his attitude on the phone, so.
One thing to note with the meetings is that the board meets at a certain time and day, preset every month. So usually at the beginning of the year, all the dates are set and announced. In January, at least that's done with the downtown bid. We know that every first Tuesday of the month at 8:15, they meet here, unless there's an election or something else that comes up.
8:15 a.m.
Right, so it doesn't have to be a 5:30 p.m. meeting. A lot of the business owners are not available at that time.
And that's once a month, for anyone that doesn't know. The HBBA meets once a week during the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the,
Okay, thank you much.
what. Thank you, Dan.
Anybody else have questions?
By the way, Mayor Jenkins is here in the back of the room, too. I just want to call him out in case you have questions for the mayor. 'cause
If you'd like,
We're
you can-
asking questions about you,
If
so.
you'd like, you can have your seat back.
Yeah.
I'll move.
I think he prefers it back there.
All right, I'm at a slight disadvantage here because I didn't bring my hearing aids to work, so half of what you're talking about, I have no idea what you're saying.
Oh, no,
So
I'm
all I
sorry.
can do is voice my opinion.
Okay.
My husband and I own Rogers Automotive Service in Barton. We've been there since the 70s, second generation family business. I have no problem with development in downtown Barton. I think it's great for the businesses in downtown Barton. Unfortunately, the map that first of all, we just heard about this in the letter we received. We've heard nothing before this. Not a single person has come in to talk to us and explain anything to us. So we're looking at this blind, number one. Number two, the map that we received shows 3 areas, 3 zones, whatever you want to call them. One of those areas is getting the benefit of what's happening in Barton. The rest of us are not. Yes, I see that we have little Barton signs on our lamp posts and we get Christmas decorations. There's nothing else done on Main Street in any way, shape, or form that supports the businesses on Main Street. And yet there are more businesses on Main Street and there are bigger businesses on Main Street, and we're being asked to fund development in downtown. When there is events held in Barton, they're held downtown. There's no street traffic, no advantage to our businesses. So we see it as a disadvantage. We see it as just another tax burden to our business. And we have 3 lots. Our building sits on 2, and we have an extra parking lot. And we feel that we are heavily taxed by the city of West Bend, plus with personal property taxes that we pay. We're also town of Barton residents, and we pay a lot of taxes. And I just don't see how adding another responsible tax burden to a business that doesn't see improvement in our area is just or fair. Unless somebody can show to me how this benefits all of us realistically, I don't see it. And many of us have other things that we're involved in, other organizations, other things that we do. So we can't take the time to add something else to our plate to follow up on this stuff. So at this point, our business, my husband and I, stand against this until we are shown and given other opportunities to learn about this. And we've talked to other businesses on Main Street who said they were going to be here tonight, and unfortunately, nobody showed. They are all against this
Yeah.
for the same reasons that I stated. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm aware of a couple of the businesses that you're talking about. I'll try to talk a little louder. I'm deaf in one ear, so I have a similar issue, but you're actually describing a lot of the reasons why we want to do this is because we've got right now a very limited budget with the HBBA. And 9 out of 10 of the active members, we've got 40 or so paying members that are involved with the HBBA, but not showing up for meetings. We've got about 10 at best that show up, and most of those are businesses, I'm sorry, but they're businesses that are on Barton Avenue. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing anything on Main Street. Don't get me wrong. That's why we've put banners over there. That's why we've put Christmas, we've put the sprays on the electrical poles the last couple of years. And this year, we're spending $1,550 on putting new bows on those sprays that just cover from Barton Avenue to the school. So we are spending resources on that and time. But we need more participation financially in order to be able to spread out into Main Street more. And that's something that we've been very conscious of and trying to do. But we'll come up with an active operating plan and walk it into your business and show it to you so you understand better what we're trying to do, and hopefully it changes your mind. I understand your apprehension, believe me. I do. No, nobody wants to pay more taxes. I don't expect to see anybody up here super excited about it, except Mike, who's been doing it for a long, long time and really understands the benefits. But we'll work on that and get in by you. And the other ones, I'm aware that are not happy about this. I'll walk in and talk to them personally. I have a business myself that's a 40, 50 hour a week business, and being involved with the HBBA in the city, I don't have a lot of time to walk around and get in door to door. But it's something I intend to do over the next few months. So I apologize that I haven't done that already.
And if anybody wants to call me and talk to me personally, I'll be happy to take phone calls from anybody or come down and see me. Best if you call, but you can call me at the jewelry store. When we're open, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions from anybody from my perspective of the downtown bid. I can't answer what they're going to do, but I will say that I totally understand your concerns because we have that same problem downtown with different pockets or different parts of our bid. But your board, with the board involvement, it will allow more things to be moved into those areas to keep it equitable. And I get the problem that is happening now is you have the same people in the same area doing everything, and so that's where things end up. But if they do this, they have to work collectively for the betterment of the bid, not just one section. Now, I will say that, like downtown, there's some parts of the downtown bid that are more conducive to events than other parts of downtown. But we always try really hard from a representation standpoint, or I do as the current president, to make sure that we have representation in those different parts of the bid so that we don't have people feeling left out and they don't have representation. Because I agree, everybody's paying the same amount, and everybody needs to be getting a benefit out of it to make it work.
Yes, I definitely agree that there should be representation in the different zones. If we're going to have 3 zones of the Barton area, then there should be representation for all 3 of those zones, absolutely. But you have a downtown bid right now, Is that only downtown businesses? I'm not familiar with what's happening with that.
So-
Are there businesses on 33 that are required to be in it? Are there businesses up from the middle school and out towards Paradise? They're on Main Street, they're not part of that.
So-
And yet our section of Main Street, which is not in downtown Barton, is being asked to be a part of that. That's what I have a problem with. The designation, I know you're going to get better revenue, but you're including areas that aren't seeing benefits. We don't have any landscape areas along Main Street, you know, that are developed like Barton has their little area down there by the roller mill. So other than putting things on the flags, a sign to say, hey, you're in Barton, it's not really doing anything, in my opinion.
So to answer your question, the boundaries of the downtown bid go from Chestnut Street north to Washington Street, and they go west on Washington Street and take in to the west of the police or the fire department, which was Bank One at the time, is now was Alexa. I don't know what they changed their name to. And then we come down to the east side of 7th Avenue and go down 7th up to Veterans Avenue and come around, and we have 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue. That whole area is all within the bid. So
That to me makes sense because it's a single cluster. But if you look at the plan that they have sent out for Barton, it's like this awful YT shape, and
well, that's a dynamics, unfortunately, of your geography.
I know, and it's because of where the businesses are located. But I'm just saying it doesn't relate, in my mind, to anything proactively happening out of that one zone.
Like I said, we'll come up with an operating plan that's going to show the folks on Main Street how that's going to benefit them. I think the part of Main Street we're really talking about is Barton Avenue out to the school, because it's obvious that Park Avenue up to Barton Avenue sees a lot of benefit from the Firefighter Memorial Park. We just put $4,000 worth of Christmas ornaments up on the light poles for Christmas the last few years. Events have been showing up at Verana's parking lot. You know, so that part of Main Street sees some action. Yours has seen it more the last few years, but I know that we can come up with an operating plan that'll show more going on out that direction.
Yeah, I'm
Jeff.
Jeff Slace from Wisconsin House Woodworks. I bought my building in 1987. At that time, they were just ripping up Barton Avenue. The city came in and had this downtown revitalization. So the state came in, because Highway 144, and they put in a lot of money for Barton Avenue. So then Terry Verana, when they got the streetlights up, he built all the Christmas decorations. And every year from 1987 on, he'd go out there by himself and put up these decorations, you know. So when we got at that time it was the Barton Business Association, which I was in. And then we did stuff, you know, they did the banners, and they did them on North Main, they did them and stuff. So then we got into Barton, you know, in 2012, then we started HBBA. And Terry Verana he just said, I can't do it anymore. He came up to me, he said, will you do it? I said, yeah, we'll do it. So I got the Christmas decorations for him in the first year or two. I put them up, me and my son put them up. And then I went to the HBBA, and said, hey, we got these decorations. The angels are great yet, and the wreaths are great yet, but the rest of them are kind of lousy. And then the downtown city replaced their snowflakes. So I went to Schmidt Funeral Home, and I said, can we get 12 of these snowflakes? Because they said, and then I took them down to Jamie's Truck Auto and had them revitalized, and we redid them and we stuck them up. But every year, we try and do stuff like Barton Avenue, because that was just redone. When the Firefighters Memorial Bluff was done, the obvious place was put it in that spot. And then last year, they gave us the sprays. So the best spot was to go from North Main, from Barton Avenue up to Marine Park. A month ago at a meeting, I said to him, I said, we got to go and try and do a downtown revitalization on North Main from Barton Avenue up to the school. Get some curb and gutters, get some street lights, and do that. You can only do so much so fast, especially when you got 6 people coming to a group and you're getting $200 at a brat fry. I mean, there's only so much you can do. We don't get anybody from North Main coming to the meetings to say, this is what we want, this is what we need. Nobody comes to voice their opinion. So you get the same people, and every time you get a little money, you look, where's the best place to put it? So we did the Firefighters Memorial Bluff. That was the obvious place, because the firefighter that owned that property died for the city there. I mean, not there, but he owned that property at one time, and that was the best spot to honor the fire department, which was not only West Bend Fire Department, but the Barton Fire Department. And that was the best spot. So then we made Christmas decorations to do from Park Avenue to Barton Avenue, and we've been doing that for a couple of years now. And we're just getting into the North Main part, because there's only so much you can do so fast. You got 6 people showing up at a meeting, you're making $1,000 on brat fries a year. What else can you do? That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it's to his point. Jeff is our resident historian, by the way. There has been a process to this. I've only been involved since 2012 or so, and each year we kind of pick a project and we go with that. And like Jeff says, we can't really pick 10 projects to do everywhere at once because of the limited resources and just literally the limited amount of hands we have. So like I said, your concerns are exactly why we should do this, as far as I'm concerned from my perspective. But again, we'll come up with some ideas that I hope we already have some ideas that I know you'll like, and I hope more that you'll like. So, anyone else?
The only thing I'll add is the representation. Over the years, people, I've actively gone out and looked for people and made recommendations, and there's never been a case where the city leadership, i.e. the mayors, have not said, hey, we're not doing that person. So it's really up to the board to figure out who they want and how they want to do it. But there is an application process that the person has to fill out an application to the city. And then the mayor makes that final choice, and then the council ratifies that choice and appoints them. And it's a 3-year term. And I'm not sure how you would do the first round, where I'm sure people would be staggered.
Yeah, you just randomly do it.
Yeah, so they would be staggered so that you wouldn't have a turnover every 3 years.
A complete turnover, yeah.
But, it's randomly. And I think also, the downtown bid's 9, but with the statute being 5, I mean, if you can get 5 really good, solid people that want to start with it, start with 5, and then as you get more, you can add them. You don't have to. You can have your bylaws be that your minimum is 5, but you can have a maximum of 9 if you want to do it that way. You can. This can be structured any way that works best for the members. And also remember that the membership isn't just the building owners. The membership is the building owners plus the commercial tenants in the building. So if you're renting your building, the tenants have a right to come to the meetings and talk and speak. It's still the board makes the final decisions, but the members of the bid are not only the building owners, but they're also the tenants within buildings that are commercial. Residential doesn't count. So, you end up with more members, hopefully, with the building owners. I don't know how many of the buildings are rented versus, owner occupied, but it spreads it out over a lot of people, real honestly.
So, couple of things from the legal side to possibly address some of the concerns. First, the bylaws, you can specify that you're going to attempt to identify individuals from each of the areas, which I think, is less of an issue, is less of an issue for downtown because it's a continuous block, but you could define areas where you want to make sure you have representation, which helps to ensure that it's not just going to be from one segment of the area. The other thing to note is you can terminate this, and so if you do it and it doesn't work after 4 years, you can terminate the bid. I mean, or whatever arbitrary amount. Like, it's not like this is forever going to be there. As Mike noted, he started out his involvement in the bid thinking he wanted to get rid of it until they finally made it function for the downtown businesses. So if this turns into something where it's like, well, this isn't benefiting all of it, unfortunately, you can't subtract from the bid. You can add, but you can't subtract, right? So the mechanism to say, well, we got it wrong when we formed it and we put the wrong businesses in there and we shouldn't have included this part, but we should have included all of these, is you scrap it and start over. But so it's once you're in, but you can get rid of it. And it's not like it requires 90%. It requires half of the property owners to petition to get rid of it. So it's not impossible to get rid of it if it's not functioning. So I think there's mechanisms to ensure that you have representation from the properties as a whole. And there is also the only obligation you have is if you had something like, for instance, you had agreed to fund the Christmas decorations over the next 2 or 3 years. If you terminated it after the first year, that you would have the obligation to finish out that funding before it would terminate completely. But you can't spend anymore at that point. You just have to pay what you've obligated yourself to pay at that point. So this isn't a one-way ticket to forever having a bid in place. You can also modify the assessment down if it's not going there. But I would point out like Justice said, the difference is, here's a couple $1,000s from fundraising and dues versus here's $35,000 or $50,000 to be able to make an actual impact. So you can also have outside members who are not. You have to have at least half of the members be from the bid, so you can have city staff to help smooth the way as well, or elected officials to help smooth the way and make sure everything is moving forward. If the concern is being able to find able bodies. Mm-hmm. You can always pull somebody from outside the district.
I really
as well.
don't think that's going to be a problem. No, and like you said, we're likely to have some city staff helping us with administrative and otherwise. So it's going to be a good professionally functioning bid if we decide to do it. So Deb Slace. She's a good person to speak because she's also involved with the downtown bid, right?
Well, I think I reap the benefits of the downtown bid, which is why I wanted to ask you, Mike, looking at this from another angle, do you think that since you have the bid and you're able to do the things with the bid, that your property values in downtown have increased?
There's no question about that. The property values have increased, and if you look back, and I gave this speech about 2 months ago, if you look back even 3 years ago, there was properties downtown that you couldn't sell for $250,000 that now have sold for $500,000-$600,000. And I attribute a lot of it not just to the bid, but in a sense I do attribute it to the bid in that because the bid was actively doing things to improve the downtown, it put us on the radar of City Hall. And City Hall realized that, hey, we need to have this, they're doing stuff. We need to kind of partner and do things. And so they started on the east side of the river. They're now doing the west side of the river. The brewery project came in, which allowed us now to redo Main Street in 2023. So all of that combined between what the bid has done and what the city has done and everybody together to improve the whole area has definitely increased the value of our properties.
And I'm just thinking too, not only increasing our value, but will we be a place where businesses are going to look? Because right now, Barton was always like the wrong side of the tracks. We've been there since God. But will we get more businesses coming in and building and developing our area?
I personally,
the better we make it look, the nicer
Exactly.
it is. That's what I'm wondering too. you know?
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it. I mean, who wants to open a business in an area that doesn't look desirable? But if you have a desirable area, it's going to drive your property values up. It's going to drive your rent values up. It's going to drive everything up. You're going to attract more business. You know, the whole thing, if you look historically at what happened downtown, I mean, at one point, we were at the lowest of the low. You know, it was pretty tough down there. And it's, you know, I look at what's happening now, and it's like, it's unbelievable.
And another thing too that I wanted to mention was, if we have monies that we can set aside eventually, depending on how much money we bring in, if we can use that and give grants to existing businesses to help like improve their properties or, you know, whatever, that would be a value too, I think.
Yeah, there's a facade improvement grant that exists with the city right now that just hasn't been funded in a while because whatever the initial funding source was has kind of dried up. But if we establish our own facade improvement grant, we can fund that, like you said, every year. And if, you know, people need a few thousand here, a few thousand there, we can match whatever they're doing and help them make it even better. Or economic development grants, or is there any way that could plug us into to low interest loans and stuff like that? Does that make us more viable for that sort of thing? Hard to say. Yeah, right. But it puts us on the map for that kind of stuff. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Deb.
It would really be your budget as a bid board to determine how you're spending it, and
Right.
grants and business retention efforts and marketing can all be a part of that as you determine how to spend it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, and to your point too, Deb, I mean, who doesn't want to get involved on the ground floor of an area that's obviously up and coming? We're kind of up and coming right now because some things have been improving and people notice that. I hear about it all the time. But if we really start, you know, putting benches up and down Main Street and flower pots and, you know, get this whole area really starting to develop, even that little stuff is going to make a big difference, and people are going to go, wow, Barton's really up and coming. If I get in there now, I'd probably be able to get kind of cheap, you know. So I see that happening not really far down the road, actually.
Justice, to your point, I think if you look at Barton Avenue to the school, I used to literally live at West Bend Aqua Shop back in the day. And, you know, you look at those buildings that were there and what was happening, and now look at what's kind of happening there now and the improvements that are happening with just Soup Corner and in some of those areas. And I eat a lot at the Soup Corner, and I yell at her every time I go in there, why didn't you bring this downtown?
Stop that.
Because I really would have liked it downtown, but I think it's a great location, and I understand why she did it, but I'm jealous that that's there, and I have to drive up there to get it. But it's also bringing me into that area to see what else is up there and what other businesses are happening up there. So I think you'll see that it's just going to feed on itself as it improves.
Just wanted to bring up one other thing that another business had pointed out to us when we were talking to them. And I agree, what's happening downtown, or what has happened downtown, is wonderful. It's great. We go down there for some of their events. But downtown was one way when it was Main Street downtown. When that became closed off and it became a more isolated corridor, that's when downtown started to go downhill. And then it had to be brought back. But it could be because it was an area that things could happen. The problem you have in Barton is Barton Avenue is Highway 144. I've been told by this other business, the big concern is that can never be closed. You could never have a street event in Barton. Same thing with Main Street. It's a main thoroughfare. There is no bypass around those two roads. So when they've tried to have things in Barton, they've had a lot of conflicts with the businesses and with people because there's no good place to have it. Somebody suggested Barton Park. Others didn't like it. You know, so we have a different situation than downtown West Bend has because we're not an off to the side thoroughfare to be developed. We are active throughway roads, and it's not going to have the same result as what you have downtown West Bend.
To be honest, I would love to have what you have because I'm not happy with our street being closed 43 days
A lot
a year.
of people aren't happy with that, but
So-
it has helped revitalize downtown.
I don't
because it's
necessar-
given a lot of development.
I will argue that I don't necessarily agree with you on that. I think that whenever you close a street to business, it ultimately hurts that business. I'm not against farmers market. I'm not against any of those events. I wish they put them someplace where we don't close the street and close access to the business.
Yeah, that would be ideal if you had that.
If you can come up with areas in Barton where you're not closing your street,
Commerce Avenue.
I think you'll find they're going to work a lot better and you're going to have a lot happier people. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because I would also love to see, and my father hated having Main Street closed off because whenever you close something to access to a business, it hurts the business.
Oh, I absolutely agree. However, by being able to develop that area and create it as a destination place for other people in the city, they now recognize that that's there and there's things there besides those events. That wouldn't happen on Main Street or on Barton Avenue.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. I'm sorry to say.
I don't see a
but
location where it would work to have something.
I don't know.
to have a
I don't know
music
Barton well
festival or
enough to be
anything
able to
else.
do that, but I think you'll find that if you're creative, you'll find places. And I feel that the reason downtown became what it was because there was a lot of excitement that got generated from things that were starting to happen over the last 10 years downtown. And some of the changes that were happening from the Riverwalk to now the talk of the downtown, the redevelopment of the brewery. At one point, we didn't have a restaurant downtown. Now we have a ton of restaurants, and it was because there was a real concerted effort to get restaurants in the downtown. So it wasn't because of the events. The events came at the same time that all the viability came downtown, and I will argue the viability came because of what's happening and what the bid and what the city have collectively been able to do.
The couple of times that we've used Commerce Street as a spot for events, that we can shut down real easy, and it's a decent enough strip, and I really want to do a food truck event down there. I mean, I can get into a bunch of things that I want to do, but there are areas in Barton that we can use. We honestly just haven't had the resources to really do it. We just haven't.
I just wanted to bring up the point because
Yep.
other businesses
I
brought
understand.
it up to us.
I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, but I think there's ways to do it. I do. Mayor Jenkins, do you want to talk at all about the picking of board member process, or not particularly? It's okay. You don't have to. Okay. Thank you, Ian. Thank you very, very much for being here. Have a good night.
Yeah, I mean, hi, everybody. I'm Mayor Chris Jenkins. I know most of you. I mean, I don't necessarily need to talk about that. That
Okay,
would be
whatever.
a conversation for later on.
Sure.
But I do think, the theme that I've heard, and I've talked to Alderman Model about this a lot, is the Barton area wanting to have their own autonomy and their own, to match their own identity. I think you have the identity, but you don't have the function to have that own autonomy. So a bid is that unique body that allows you to have that autonomy and have those resources to do all the wonderful things that we talk about you doing.
Thank you.
So I'm definitely an advocate behind creating this bid, and I think it'd be a great step forward for another wonderful part of our great city. So
Awesome.
keep it up.
Thank you. Agreed.
Timeline or next steps?
What's that?
You want to talk timeline or next?
Do you want to talk timeline next step? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess to talk a little bit about next steps. So this was our first initial public information session, and there's some handouts to take there, and feel free to do so and give them to your neighbors. Next step would be, an official letter of petition would go to the Plan Commission and Common Council to create the Spartan bid, and that would come from real property owners of commercial properties within the proposed district. And then a notification will go out to all property owners in the proposed district, whether it's commercial or residential, every property owner, whether assessed or not, to invite them to a public hearing in October and to also provide additional information about what the proposal entails. So October 5th is the tentative date for when that public hearing would take place. And that would be at the Plan Commission at 6 p.m. It's a Tuesday night. They would review the Barton bid boundary and an initial 2022 Barton bid operating plan. So that's a time where the public can come and ask questions, show their support, voice their concerns, whatever that might be. After that point, there's a 30-day period of time where property owners can petition against the creation of this bid. So if more than 40% of the assessed value of the district petitions against it, it will not go forward. And then if the opposite occurs, then it will continue on to the November 8th council meeting for final approval of creating the district and the operating plan. And after that point, the assessments would go out into the December mailing along with the other city taxes for 2022. And the mayor would appoint board members, and you go from there in starting the bid, which would be in effect as of January 2022. So it's also printed on a timeline sheet over there in case you didn't catch any of those dates.
Yeah, pretty much all of the information that literally all of the information we've shared tonight is all on that table over there. So like Jess said, if you want to grab a few and share with the neighbors. And I just want to reiterate that I am available by email or by phone. If you have any questions in advance of me hopefully getting a chance to walk into your business, please do so. This is I hope this is going to be a positive thing. This is meant to be an exciting new function for our part of the city to, like Mayor Jenkins said, to grab hold of and retain our identity, and forever moving forward, if we so choose, to have Christmas decorations put up and new flower arrangements put around the area every year, benches maintained, garbage cans put in and maintained, and a bunch of other things that we have outlined in some of that literature, and things that we're talking about at the HBBA meetings now. And I put out in agendas and minutes regularly over the past few years. So lots of exciting plans to make Barton great again, and hopefully we can decide to do this. Mark, did you have anything in particular you wanted to add?
No. Basically, from the planning's perspective, this is basically it's our staff's responsibility to find a way to help you decide what you want to do with it and support you as you do that. So we do that routinely with Mike and his committees. And it can take many different forms. We've had everything from wayfinding committees to signage committees to marketing committees, whatever the intent is of that particular board going forward. And we act as a liaison basically to the city. So you may want to do something in the city. We're going to try to find a way how to make that happen. That might mean walking you through the process to get an exception to do something, or it may mean finding a way to accomplish what you want to do in a floodplain, so that we're not acting against what you're doing. We try to find a way to say yes on it, because that's what the community, and that's what a bid is. It's you finding common ground to say, I'm willing to spend a little more for your specific area over and above what the city would normally expend in an area. That's why bids don't extend down South Main Street into the typical strip commercial areas or go to Paradise Drive or on West Washington or on East Washington. They don't have the same continuity, they don't have the same identity that the downtown does or that Barton does. And there's been some starts and stops in Barton, as the gentleman mentioned. He gave a pretty accurate history of it.
That's our history.
I've been here since '87. I worked on the '88 contract for the Barton reconstruction when I was with an engineering department. So I've seen what Terry did back then to try to booster the area. Worked with in the planning department since '90 on, including the Barton Historic District designation and a bunch of others. So we can help, but it boils down to if you choose to do it yourself.
That was as one of my committee assignments. Not long after I got elected to alderman for District 7, I was put on the downtown bid board and got a chance to work with Mike for a couple years. And that was really what attracted me to it the most, and what made me consider that this would be such a good idea for Barton, is because of the way it connects downtown to the city. Like I mentioned in the introduction, the downtown doesn't, the city doesn't do all of the things that happen downtown. The bid does that stuff, or they pay the city to do that stuff. And in some cases, it's even done by the city just because the bid is there calling attention to it. So that's really what attracted me to this idea more than anything, I think, is the way it connects us to the city, because we feel disconnected up there. I hear it from people all the time. It's gotten a lot better, but there's still a lot more that we can do. And I think this is the way to do it. So I will continue to try to convince you guys. Good luck, I know, but I'll continue to try. We've got some time to talk about it yet, so. Anyone else?
Just wondering if one of the next meetings, the public hearing on the 5th, whatever, if you can be there to participate in that, I'd like to find out exactly what transpired.
The actual discussion at Plan Commission is televised. It's live streamed. So, so is the public.
Televised.
It's televised. It's on the cable channels.
It will be recorded.
And it's
Do you have it? Do you have internet access? You can live stream to the internet.
But yes, my wife live streams these all the time on the internet, on her phone.
So the public hearing is televised, as is the discussion by Plan Commission.
This meeting will also be available to be able to watch as well after. We're recording it this evening.
You just have to go to the city website. Can you explain that?
Sure. So on the city's website, we have links for departments, and under that department, there's a communications one that links to our community television channel website. So we have live videos like this, and the Plan Commission meeting on the 5th is live, and so are many other meetings that take place throughout each month. And then after those meetings, those are made available to watch on demand later. They're also available on our YouTube channel for the city of West Bend. So I'm happy to always send it out if somebody needs a direct link as well. Thanks.
And if you really want to see some of what happened from the downtown standpoint, all of our meetings are out there. You can watch any of them. And that was one of the changes, quite frankly, that I made, or that I pushed to be made, is these meetings were never public until 9 years ago or whatever it was, and we brought them into this location and started recording them and putting them up for everybody to see. So it builds total transparency into it, so everybody knows what's going on.
It's what we'd be suggesting anyways. I mean, we'd all have to agree to do that, but to have it in this room recorded, everybody on record with what they're saying is meaningful, because maybe it'll stop you from saying something. So I think that's a great suggestion. But if anybody else doesn't have anything, I think we can wrap this up. Any more questions or concerns or comments? No, thank you very much for being here, folks. I really appreciate it. And again, we'll continue to try to earn your vote. Have a good night.